Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about getting inspiration from sources outside photography. So I'm Daniel Norton, I'm a photographer here in New York. I make videos like this about philosophy, also about technique. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe. And let's get to it. So I've been making videos every day. Hopefully you guys are enjoying them. And I was going to sit outside of my porch today and make a video, but it is crazy windy, by the way. I don't know if you guys are in the Northeast, but it's windstorms and rain, and the power's actually beginning kind of flickering a little bit, so I didn't really want to work on my computer so much. Because not so much that I would worry about the power. We'll talk about that in another video. I have a battery bank, but because the internet is kind of going in and out a little bit. Anyways, so when those things happen, or just when I feel like chilling out, I often sit down. You can't see it here, but I've got like a little record player that I got, like a little portable record player, and I'll listen to records. And we've talked about before that when people ask me, I get my inspiration, a lot of times through things like music. So, and again, not so much the beats or the rhythm of the music, although, certainly that can influence, especially on an actual shoot. If you're playing a certain kind of music, it can like rev up and get certain emotion. But I mean, kind of in a way of like looking at the lyrics and the way that the lyrics are written in a way that will inspire memories, I guess, or ways I think about my environment that will then, give me ideas as to what I might shoot and really influence the way I like things. So as I was, listening to a few things, I actually, there was a few things here where I was like, this is worth talking about. Well, I was waiting for the rain to stop. So I said, hey, we'll make this video today. I really like, music that has lyrics that are the kind of, again, pictures and stuff, as I've mentioned before. So I don't know. I'm not a music critic. I'm not going to expect you to like certain music, but as it turns out, I have a couple things here that I think are kind of evocative, and I want to talk a little bit about it. So number one is, it's not on top, but I'll pull it up. So this is not, by the way, my favorite album by this artist, who's Bruce Springsteen, but it is probably the most well-known one for sure. Well, maybe Born in the USA. But anyways, this is Born to Run, and there is a song in here called Jungle Land, and this song to me is like the epitome of like a New York song. It's very much about, actually this whole album, by the way, if you listen to this record, the entire album is like a day in a sense. Like it all kind of interconnects and tells the story of like all the various things that are going on, which is super cool. But anyways, very specifically, the last song on the album, Jungle Land, I always thought was just like, it's basically a poem to me. And so I was just sitting there listening to it. And one of the lines from the early thing, that, again, this is the kind of thing that would inspire me to make a photo, is one of the lines I wrote it down so I could get it right, is a barefoot girl sitting on the hood of a Dodge drinking warm beer in the soft summer rain. Close your eyes and just say that or listen to that, There's a picture there, right? What is it like? It's soft summer rain, so it's kind of it's still maybe sunny out, that rain you get in the summer where it's actually sunny, but like there's actually rain coming down? Or is it at the end of the day and the sun's falling? She's drinking a warm beer, so why is the beer warm? Like, was she been out there all day? Is she on the beach? It's a very casual and soft and intimate kind of picture made with two lines that you could then use to inspire, what you create as a photographer. Just taking that little bit. And it's different, when I think of this, I picture a totally different barefoot girl than you do. I can totally tell you that right now. And I think we all do, and that is, again, what I think the power of words over looking at other photography. When you look at other photography, you can look at the lighting and stuff and be like, that's cool, I want to do that. But when you have a lyric or a poem or you read something in a book, it's your picture. It's in your head. It's your memories. It's the way that you think about life and the way you see things, And I think that can be very powerful and help to create and craft shots. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to run out and shoot a picture of somebody sitting on the car and blah, blah, blah. And it's not it at all. What it is more about is it's about the idea that this lyric will bring out to me makes me think about what I would see in that situation. So when the time comes that I need to make a portrait, if the person in front of me fit and I want to evoke that mood, even without that location, because what is the location, right? I can evoke it because I've kind of imagined this in my head. So So that was one. I thought that was really good, and that's from Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. I just think it's really great. And Springsteen, of course, is very famous, so I'm sure most people know who Bruce Springsteen is. The other two that I'm going to talk about, maybe not so much clearly, because I've been talking about one of them a lot, because unfortunately he recently passed away. Who's John Prine, and he's he's been around, I don't know, I guess since the '70s. Was his last record, actually, Tree of Forgiveness. And I also just love this record because of this portrait. Like, I think it's just an amazing portrait. It's just so simple and raw. And that's something that I really enjoy in portraiture. So I really love it. But this song here is called Summer's End. And I think it's from the first verse. Actually, maybe the very first lines of the song. Summer's End, it's around the bend, just flying. Right? Of course, their song's still going to rhyme. Summer's End, around the bend, just flying. The swimming suits are on the line, just drying. Now, what does that mean? Like, where is that? What happened? Why are they drying? I mean, clearly because you went swimming, but is it now the end of the day, so you're home, or is it maybe it's lunchtime, or maybe it's the morning and you had a morning swim and now you're like running around? I mean, there could be so many things, and it really depends on where you grew up and where you're from and where your thoughts are. I've probably mentioned this before. We used to spend the summers in a small cottage in New Hampshire, and that's just such an evocative picture to me, because it's exactly the type of thing that we would do. We would go down to the lake and we would swim, and then we would, have other clothes with us that we'd switch into and just leave the suits out drying, like someone just on a tree branch or on a line or on a folding chair. And to think about like what that evokes when you see those just there is just such an interesting thing to me. And again, it's got this emotional impact that I think can be really useful when you're creating your images or your lighting. And again, I'm not saying you go off and shoot a bunch of bathing suits hanging on a line. That's not it at all. I mean, you could do that, and that could be really interesting. But the idea that like, where is the story here, and the rest of the story you finish in your head, is how I approach photography and how I get my inspiration. How I think about things. So that would be that, right? A lot of summer stuff going on. I guess I'm getting ready for the summer. Been inside so much, right? Well, it's the spring, so So yeah. Anyways, the third artist I'm going to talk about, the third record. I mean, I could do a super long video about this because I'm very. This is probably my 99% of my inspiration. But this guy is pretty amazing. I don't know when his first record came out. He's much younger than the other two I just said. His name is Josh Ritter. This is actually happens to be "So Runs the World Away." Hold it up so I can hear it. So he also has these very kind of storytelling songs. And, it's interesting because when an artist, makes a record and then has an entire sheet with the lyrics that you can get, I mean, obviously that's because they're important. And this song, which I really like, is called "The Curse." And it's about essentially, it's literally about, you can figure out what it's about, by listening to it figuratively, but about an archaeologist essentially finding a mummy, in the tomb. And this is the opening, stanza or verse, I guess. He opens his eyes, falls in love at first sight with the girl in the doorway. What beautiful lines, how full of life. After thousands of years, what a face to wake up to. Right? Imagine, right? You haven't seen anybody. You've been trapped. You're kind of separate. Well, we're separated now. This is very interesting. From people, and then you see someone, and that someone just inspires in you basically a passion or a love or a lust, or who knows. This, like, what are you seeing? Like, how is that? What does it look like when you open your eyes and there it is, right? Something in front of you that you've been waiting for or looking for, and you didn't even know it existed. What is that thing? And how do you see it? Because you don't necessarily see it the way it actually looks. You see it with this kind of clouded vision of your imagination, because you haven't interacted with it or them or whatever, depending on what you're doing. So it almost has this like dreamlike quality to it. And that's something, again, that you can use. Maybe that's not how you interpret it all. This is the beauty of this, right? It's that we all will hear these words and then we will think of something. It'll inevitably, a good song that's written for that reason, not just like a dance song or whatever. Those songs are awesome too. Are designed for that. They're designed for the person to sit down and look at. And photography, or listen to, I should say. And photography is the same way. A lot of times when we're doing critiques, the ones we used to do live in Adorama with Seth, we would say that it's like once you put it out there, like if you're a songwriter and you put a song out there, or once you're a photographer and you put the image out there, the person who sees that image is going to get something from it. And what they get from it, you are not in control of, because it's based on their background, what they see, how they feel. It's my Massachusetts accent coming back. And that's super, super interesting and really powerful, And you have to also be willing, I said this is another video, to kind of let go, right? Because once you put it out there and you think that you've said what you want to say with your image, you have to know that not everybody's going to see exactly what you thought they'd see in it. And I think that's a good lesson to learn too. And I think it's very similar in music. So, I mean, that's just three artists that I really get, lately that I was actually listening to. There's lots of other great musicians, that write amazing lyric, that you guys probably know about. And if you want to put comments below of who you like or things you find inspiration from, this may be a bit of a trickier contest, or I don't want to call it contest, challenge. But I would love to see people take this and run with it, Take a song that you really, really are getting inspired by the lyrics and see what you can create based on that. Again, not trying to create the picture that's in the song necessarily, but how that thing that you're photographing could be influenced by the emotion or the thoughts that you feel when you hear this music. So basically, listen to some music that really inspires you lyrically, and try to create something lighting-wise that kind of ties that in and maybe tries to show that same emotion that you feel when you hear that song. So give that a try, guys. We'll see if that works out. Of course, if you're still shooting the cups, I mean, I know not everybody can do stuff right away. Go ahead and shoot the cup pictures. Put a link, put a tag me or whatever so I can see them, because I'm enjoying all the ones I'm seeing. A lot of different variation of different types of cups and different kind of still lifes and stuff. So I'm really enjoying those. And I'll see you tomorrow.